Huh. PS4's had a lot of really good games come out this year. Let's take a peek. How many are there? Oh, that's a good one. Huh. Xbox, how many games have you had that come out this year? That's not nice. So we'll start off with the first thing that jumps out at you, the graphics, and they're awesome. I mean, just look behind me. There's gonna be like graphics and stuff and videos going on. It looks gorgeous. It does, doesn't it? It's a very pretty looking game, and especially for being an open world game, I don't know how they pulled off such graphical fidelity. Yeah, that's something that was said in a very proper review. The graphics just look really good. And I don't know how they pulled that off, along with the stability. I shouldn't have to praise games when they come out and I say, it didn't crash, and there wasn't screen tearing, there wasn't frame rate issues, and if there was a frame rate issue in the game or any jitter, I didn't notice it. It was very stable and very polished, and Guerrilla Games deserves huge thumbs up for that, because that's awesome. Now, the story is very cool. I gotta be vague with it because if you haven't played this game, you should, and it does have a very good narrative with some really great characters. So I don't want to spoil anything. I like going into things not knowing anything for the story, so that's how I'm going to present it to you. But you're in a world that instead of animals, there are some animals, but there's dinosaurs, like machines and such, that do take on the characteristics of other animals. Like you have, the robotic crocodile. They're fun to fight. And robotic dinosaurs, love that stuff. Some of them are huge, creating these really awesome boss fights. But that's the kind of cool setting that you're in. And instead of really having access to any guns, you're using bow and arrows. You're using, tribesman traps and spears and really cool stuff. So it's like watching a bunch of Native Americans go up against some Transformers. And it's awesome because you got to take out Optimus. He's been bad. But I love that stuff, and it's a neat setting. They do explain why the Earth is the way it is in the game, so don't feel like you're not going to get those answers. You will get the answers, and they are pretty good. The story is overall very good, very engaging, with an awesome main lead, Aloy. Really enjoyed her. Loved her dreads. Had some really good hair. Maybe on par with Lara Croft's hair in her recent games. So that's some really good hair right there. But what's neat about her is the voice actress for her is Ashley Birch. And she started out, at least from the first time I saw her, many years ago, she was doing these funny parody videos online from video games, and they were pretty funny. They used her dad as like some of the really funny punchlines. Everyone always watched the videos, and you always waited for like the dad part, because he always had the best things. But it's kind of cool that she kind of started in YouTube or doing these online videos, and now she's a voice actress in these big budget games. Because if you played any of the Borderlands games, she's Tiny Tina in that, and one of the funniest characters in it, and nuts. Either way, I loved her performance in this, and there's a bunch of other really good characters I can't spoil here. And the story does follow a familiar hero story. So if you think while you're playing it, you're like, this is cliched, I can't enjoy it. First of all, shut up. And it plays up all those cliches in the best way possible. So as long as you're not pretentious, you're gonna enjoy the crap out of it. And it's well done at that. Now let's get into the gameplay. So it's a third-person action-adventure game with a lot of shooting of the bow and traps, like I said before. There's even some light stealth mechanics in the game that are really good. I love going behind the enemies and sticking them with your spear or pulling off a headshot and no one knows where you are. Now, again, this game does have the very high level of grass to hide in so no one can see you, so that stuff's neat. And it does have those kind of systems that you see in Splinter Cell and Far Cry, letting you know if enemies can hear you or see you. So getting that information as the player is really good, so you can kind of gauge your sneakiness or if you're going to get caught in a certain situation. And with the open world, I love this open world. It isn't like the biggest open world you've seen, but it is very densely packed with lots of stuff to do. Almost all the side activities, I would say, they're all worth doing, they're all fun. They consist of either some really good story stuff, some really good side stories with the side missions. Kind of remind me of The Witcher 3, where there are these little stories within the bigger story. And I like that stuff. Fleshes out some characters that kind of play a part in the main narrative too. Love that. And then along with it, they have base camps that you can take out, and you have to scale, just like when you play Far Cry and you have to go up towers to unlock an area, be able to see it on your map. Here, you kind of go up these like huge dinosaur creatures and you unlock the radar, and they're really fun to climb. I like that stuff. The side content's really good, and all the gameplay that you have going on is a lot of fun. And with that, you get a lot of randomized loot with different bows and different traps that you can have. There's even some mild crafting for potions and everything like that. I like that stuff. And then your bows and your weapons, they can have different modifications to them. Along with your armor, you can choose different armor sets. I went with something that was more for stealth. So I did the sneaky and pointed him, poked him with the sharp ends all the time. And I love doing that. But that could not be your playstyle. You could play a different style, and that's kind of cool that it has that. Either way, you're in for hours upon hours of content. I probably threw in about 50 hours of the game, and there was still more stuff to do. And I want to go back and beat it again too. Another part that I really like about the game is how it's kind of scaled in certain zones based on the level that you're in. So you can level up and get more powers, and you have skill trees, so you will get stronger. But it's really cool that the game gives you the option that you want to go into that hard area? Be my guest, go right in. And sometimes I would create these awesome boss fights that weren't part of the narrative. I just went into an area I wasn't supposed to be in, and I had these really intense fights, and I loved it. It was probably some of the most memorable combat parts of the game. And I love that the game does that. It doesn't force you. It doesn't say, hey, you can't go any further because you are not of this level to go in. You're not level 20, you're not allowed to come in. It's like, you're level 8, you're probably gonna get your shit kicked in, but hey, you can try. And I love that they let you try. It's fun. Get these boss fights. Love it. Gotta also say too, the soundtrack, oh man, did that impress me a lot. Really great stuff. Along with the cutscenes too. There's some really great cutscenes in this game. And really good voice acting from the characters. So you got great characters, voice acting, all the sounds in the game and the visuals are fantastic. So I have some minor nitpicks about the game. These are really just like things I noticed, but it wasn't like, wow, that's in the game, so now I can't love it. No, I still love it, but these are just things I noticed. Sometimes when you're climbing up a mountain and you're trying to figure out what to grab onto, it's not obvious. It's this kind of whitish gray that you can climb onto on orange mountains, but when you're climbing on buildings, they're all yellow and it kind of jumps out at you more. And when you're playing a game like Uncharted, there's this little like glint of light that you can kind of see, oh, I can jump over here. And since the platforming is a little automatic, it's just a little frustrating sometimes where I'm like, I don't know where to go, so I can like just jump up a little bit, like to start the initial jump. That kind of frustrated me sometimes. And then in the game, especially towards the end with the story, it gets very exposition heavy, which is fine. That's okay. You know, I come from loving Metal Gear Solid, and they just love to spout shit off in that game and tell you a lot of stuff. But here, the only part that kind of annoyed me a bit is you'd have this really big story sequence happen. They'd tell you something about the plot, and they would dump, and I mean dump, like 4 audio logs in front of you, and you're just supposed to, grab them and sit and then just listen to it. Like there's nothing to play. I wish they spaced it out a little bit better. Kind of like in BioShock or Dead Space, you get an audio log while you're playing it. So you're playing, you're exploring, you find an audio log, okay, but you're still continuing to explore. Here, I'm like, oh, I really want to know more detail about this important situation I was just in. I'm gonna wait and then go to that audio log again, kind of a thing. And I just wasn't crazy about that. I wish they spaced them out a little bit more. Would have been more digestible and enjoyable, like a good meal. And 2 other nitpicks. Sometimes you have these sniping archers that they just wait for you like Barry Pepper from Saving Private Ryan, and they'll hit you every time with a bow and arrow. Maybe it's because I was playing on hard, but why you gotta have so many of them? I'd walk into an area sometimes, I'd be chock full of like Boromir arrows, and I'd just fall back and die. I hated that. Only happened like 2 times in the game. And then with that, the waypoint system in this game is a little weird. Like the on-screen prompt to tell you where to go, sometimes it just is like, oh, you're going to the objective? Oh, we're gonna put it over here, and you start running over there. And they were like, no, we really wanted you to be over here. And I'm like, are you screwing with me right now? Because I just want to go to my mission. So that's a little frustrating. I would just go to the map and figure it out. And like I said, the open world's not so huge, so you're going to get majorly frustrated with this. But it was just something I noticed while playing it. So let's end on a high note after I just threw some nitpicks or whatever at you. Is it worth playing? Yes. Should you buy it? Yes. Should you play it right now? Yes. It is awesome. It's a real treat. Horizon Zero Dawn is one of those games that when we're on like the PS7 or the PS7 Pro or whatever in the future and people are like, hey, what was some great stuff on the PS4? This will be in the top 5 list of best games for the PS4. It's just a great experience, very well polished, and I love experiencing something new. It's a new franchise, it's neat. And while I love my sequels, I have no problem with them. It's not, Hollywood, all they're doing is reboots and sequels. I don't give a shit, whatever. If it's good, it's good. And for here, it's just neat that they tried something different, especially Guerrilla Games. It felt like that they put their heart and soul into this and they got the amount of time to really make the game that they wanted, and they did a great job with it. I loved it. Check it out. And thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, drop me a like. If you like bows and arrows, give me a subscribe. Check out my other videos, and I'll see you next. Oh, and ring that jingle jangle bell because it'll annoy the crap out of you every time I upload a video.